Well, we're in the final push, and we are going to have a fireside chat with Jennifer Manning and Haro Hartounian on the state of the market for cell therapy, led by BioCentriq.
Thank you, and good afternoon for joining us. We're really at the threshold of an extraordinary time in medicine, where science fiction is becoming science fact, and where hope is being transformed into reality. Welcome to our fireside chat. It's my pleasure to introduce Haro Hartounian. He's a 30-year serial entrepreneur in biotech. His most recent company, BioCentriq, was most recently acquired by Green Cross Holdings. He's going to be sharing valuable insights on the key trends in the cell therapy market today. So Haro, thank you for joining.
Thank you, Jennifer.
I had the privilege of joining Haro about a month ago, now their new Chief Commercial Officer. So we'll be working very closely to help bring these very potentially curative and incredibly hopeful therapies to market for our clients. Haro, please share with us what you feel are the key trends in the cell therapy market today.
Thank you, Jennifer, for the opportunity for this fireside chat. Well, cell therapy, as most of you guys have seen in the news, is the forefront of medicine now. I think the future of especially cancer therapy is within the advances in cell therapy, personalized medicine. Kymriah was one of the products that was approved developed by Novartis, and other companies are developing more products into cell therapy. So the trend is, I think its future of the medicine is going to be autologous cell therapy or allogeneic cell therapy. Autologous cell therapy is when patients, they donate their blood, and the companies, they take the T cells, the immune cells, and isolate them, activate them, and grow them, and infuse it, genetically modify them, and then infuse it back to the patients, and hopefully to treat the cancer. And allogeneic cell therapy they use a super donor, somebody who's extremely healthy, and they, of course, manufacture that product and develop off-the-shelf product for treatment of cancer. So those two areas still, they need lots of work, advancement. There's many challenges the companies are facing, technical challenges, financial challenges. If you go back to 2020, 2021 time, cell therapy companies were so easy for them to raise funding. VCs, they were throwing money at them. Even with small amounts of data, the companies were able to raise $50, $60 million. Things have changed. The space is very crowded. Many companies now, they're looking for funds in the cell therapy. I think the inflation, volatility in the market, even right now, is affecting. Money has become very expensive. So the companies are struggling. I think things are getting better. I've been talking to a bunch of startups in the cell therapy. I think their VCs are starting to slowly invest, but there's so many companies out there, and that's a challenge. So we can talk about this further. I'm sure that you're going to ask me questions about partnerships and everything else.
Yes, absolutely. Despite the proven efficacy that you mentioned with Kymriah and others, we still don't see enough patients receiving the curative cell therapies. Yeah. What are the barriers to access that potentially the industry is overlooking?
Well, I think patients' access is a key, I think, challenge that everybody is facing. If you look at most of the clinical trials are being done in major hospitals in Boston, California. So the rural areas, people that they live in far from those clinical trial places, they cannot go, they cannot even afford to go and participate in the clinical trials. So patient access is very important. I think there are many ways that you can address that. I think point of care approach that companies are developing closed system, automated system that they can put in every hospital. And the patient, they can go and actually, get treatment at the same hospital. So technology is being developed. It's not there yet, but I think there are many challenges, regulatory challenges. So I think patient access is a major issue. The other part is that if you look at the cost, pricing for cell therapy product right now, I just read today that Vertex, with the CRISPR, the product, the FDA, December 8th, I think they're going to most probably approve that product. It's the first CRISPR gene therapy product, right? I did some Google search, and I found that the price per patient for one treatment between $1 to $3 million. And I don't know how people can afford to do this in sickle cell disease, and insurance companies, how they're going to take care of that. So the pricing is very major issue for the patients in cell therapy.
Yes, absolutely.
Kymriah is like $350,000. Although Novartis, the way that Novartis made a deal was that the patients will go and get treatment, and if it works, the insurance companies will cover it. If it doesn't work, Novartis won't charge the patient. That's what I know. Again, I'm sure that things have changed, but it's a major issue, pricing. And I know why the pricing is high, but we can talk about that more.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. That's a good transition. I was going to ask with regards to strategies of how to reduce cost and what types of partnerships are therapeutic developers looking at, whether it's large pharma partnerships or partnerships with CDMOs, contract development and manufacturing organizations such as BioCentriq, and what role do you see the partnerships with large pharma and the strategies that these therapeutic developers are employing with regards to their outsourcing strategies?
All right. So if I quite understand your question, if the companies, they're struggling to raise funding. Today, the big pharma is actually a good place for them to go and partner. And AstraZeneca announced today with a French company, cell therapy company, that they're forming partnership. Other companies are, Eli Lilly, everybody is like putting money in innovative cell therapy companies. So that's one area that they're focusing, and I'm very involved, and I'm talking to a bunch of people. I think that's very good. As far as the cost to patient and higher cost, if that's the question, the future is that everything should be automated. Right now, the reason that Kymriah is very expensive, because it's very labor intensive. It's very manual. It takes hours, almost from the day that they do the leukapheresis, take the blood sample from the patient, to the day that they do the transplantation. It takes 1 month. And it's very labor intensive. I think the future should be fully automated, closed system, portable systems that you can house in hospitals or CDMOs like us, and then quickly manufacture this product. And I think there are now new technologies being developed. UPenn developed this 3-day, 1-day processing, which is kind of a novel, innovative way of reducing the time. So the cost can be reduced by doing that. Of course, partnership with the big pharma, they have more resources. They have more capital, more financial resources, more human resources, technical people, scientists. Of course, that partnership is extremely good for the startups, not only to address their challenges, but also for, if they're successful, then the big pharma has all the commercial entities, infrastructure for the sales and marketing and everything else. So that's if they can come up with a partnership at the beginning, that would be very good for them.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think that for companies that are short on cash and under a lot of pressure to deliver, they've had to pick, right? They have a rich pipeline of programs, but limited cash to invest in those programs. So they really need to thoughtfully think about which assets they're going to move forward, which means a complete restructure of how they spend their cash. And one of the things folks did, a couple of years ago is want to take control of their manufacturing. And so they built a lot of internal capacity. Large pharma too, and innovators thought, hey, we're not going to outsource, we're going to build it ourselves. There was a lot of money, there was a lot of VC money. They thought, let's not outsource, let's own our own destiny. And what's happened is there's a lot of excess capacity now. So maybe if you could just speak to how the industry is dealing with the excess capacity on the market and the competitiveness now for those manufacturing suites, and how is that affecting businesses like BioCentriq?
Yeah, very good question. I would never recommend, being in the industry for 32 years, the startups to build their own infrastructure, manufacturing facility. Don't you do that. It's a waste of money, time. Use your CDMOs. Make it as virtual as you can, and just save your money. Let's just go back to the COVID time and the pandemic time. As most of you guys remember, that there was a huge problem with the capacity. Everybody wanted to make the vaccine, and there was no capacity for the other companies to develop their products. So I actually started BioCentriq before 2016, so before even pandemic. And the idea was at that time, now I can discuss that more, but at that time, the capacity was an issue. So suddenly after the pandemic, we saw that everybody started building a CDMO. And CDMO is Contract Development Manufacturing Organization, for those of you guys that don't know about this. So they grew like mushrooms. So many CDMOs. Everybody, even today, they're building it. I heard Bayer is launching another CDMO in California. Novartis, their facility, they convert to a CDMO in New Jersey. So everybody got involved in the CDMO. And suddenly, excess capacity. The companies that they wanted to utilize the CDMOs, they ran out of money or they couldn't raise money. So suddenly it's a domino effect, right? The VCs, investors are not investing in the small companies, startups. Startups, they don't have money to come and utilize the CDMOs, and all that capacity is empty now. It's terrible. Unless the market changes and these companies, they start having access to capital, then those capacity slowly will be filled. But there will be a lot of consolidation, in my view. I think that some of them are going to fail because they don't have any backing and funding to survive. And I think there will be major consolidation in the next couple of years in the CDMO business. But I think I wouldn't recommend any startup entrepreneur in cell therapy or any biotech company to build their own manufacturing facility or capabilities. It's not a good idea.
When you talked about building BioCentriq 4 years ago, you envisioned, built, and launched it really truly to address unmet need, like you said, and intentionally entered the CDMO market with a differentiated value proposition. Even though there was a need for capacity, you still felt that it was important to make sure that the business you were building was going to be unique and different. Maybe you can share with the audience, how were you able to differentiate, and what has been the result of that differentiation?
Yeah, well, 2016, there was no problem with the capacity. I think the idea was, when I started thinking about this, was the fact that I was an entrepreneur. I started a company before BioCentriq, and I raised a decent amount of cash. And I went to a big CDMO, and the company was very virtual. So I went to a big CDMO and asked them to repeat what we did in the lab and develop this product. Unfortunately, they were so busy, they were so big, and I was so small that they didn't pay attention to me. They put their third, fourth tier scientists, engineers to project. Eventually, they couldn't even repeat and reproduce what we did in the lab. So we ran out of money when we had to shut down the company, right? So when I was thinking about how can we overcome this, so all these big CDMOs, they're paying attention to the big pharma, the companies that they have deep pocket. And what about those small companies like me that we don't get that attention and service? So the concept of BioCentriq was really to develop a kind of a boutique type of a CDMO that can provide a top first-class service to those startups that they have limited amount of money and resources, and help them to go to the next level, meaning get their proof of concept and hopefully get data, and then Big Pharma will come and acquire them. So that was the reason that BioCentriq was created. Then we also, after the pandemic, as I mentioned, so many CDMOs started growing, and we felt that we got to come up with some sort of differentiation. And if you look at all these service organizations, everybody will tell you that they have the best facility, they have the best people, they have the best quality system, they have the best for everything, and come and work with us. And I think, to me, as an entrepreneur and somebody who has built companies in the past, for me, the most important thing is time, cost. Those two things are very important. How fast I can get my data and how cost-effective I can get my data that I'm looking for. Of course, the other thing is that the management of the people, they have done this in the CDMO. Do they have a good management? And also stability of the CDMO. So I sold the company to a South Korean company, Green Cross, as a multi-billion-dollar life sciences. And that's a major differentiation because we have the stability. They are always, if we are short of cash or anything else, they can infuse capital in the company. But more importantly, number 4 or 5, that differentiation is the track record. We have produced material at our facility that's being used for women with ovarian cancer, and 11 patients, they have been dosed. And that's a huge track record for a small startup CDMO to be able to make high-quality GMP material that's being used in clinical trials. Not many small CDMOs that are competing with us, they have done that before. So all those 5 factors are very important. So we always, when somebody comes to us, I always sit down with them and explain to them, listen, I know that time is very important to you. I know that money is very important to you. I get it. I will help you. So.
Absolutely. Thank you. Those truly are differentiators, and one of the reasons why I was so excited to come and work with you. Yes. Over the next 12 to 18 months, you talked about acquisitions, mergers, partnerships. One of the other trends is going to be regulatory approvals, likely to continue because of the curative and hopeful potential of these therapies. Patients and patient advocacy groups are going to continue to be a very strong and influential voice. When the sickle cell community hears that there's a new therapy that could be potentially curative with a CRISPR-based approach, they are certainly going to be very loudly opposing a $1 to $3 million price tag for those therapies. So, stay tuned for the influence and the advocacy that happens on the Hill and with the regulators and insurance companies to make sure that these therapies can be accessible to everyone. With regards to indications, you talked about cancer, but I think one of the interesting things with regards to cell therapy is they're now venturing into other therapies such as rare genetic disorders, autoimmune diseases, Parkinson's, and even infectious diseases. Maybe just in the last few minutes, can you just share with us where you see cell therapy in 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think oncology is not the only indications that companies are going, CNS and autoimmune disease, the Treg cells and TILs and all those areas, iPSCs, stem cells, the MSCs, all those cell lines. The companies are working very hard. I think, for the rest of at least my lifetime, I think autologous cell therapy, which is, again, the cell therapy for, you take the patient's blood and modify that and reinfuse back to the patient. Autologous cell therapy will be always there, personalized medicine. Allogeneic cell therapy, which is the off-the-shelf cell therapy, I think is the future. There are many challenges with that. But eventually, that's the only answer right now because it will reduce the costs significantly. Because we're all here working toward making sure that patients, they have access. Our family members, friends, they have all the, the options for the treatment. So reduction of the cost would be major factor. And allogeneic cell therapy, I think, would be the answer for now. Again, companies, big pharma companies, the insurance companies, they have to work together and make sure that, eventually they can come up with a way that the patients don't have to pay a lot of out-of-pocket. On the technology side, I think fully automated systems, I still believe that future is like we will have point-of-care systems that we can actually house portable systems that you can put in hospitals. And the patients will go and will be treated at the hospital like any other type of treatment at a very short period of time. They don't have to travel all over the world or from East Coast to West Coast or vice versa. So there's a lot of stuff going on. I think the future is very bright. I believe that technology and medicine are working well together, and I think they're helping for the first time. They're helping each other very cohesively and aligned with each other, which is very good.
Thank you. I agree with you. The future is bright, and it's incredible the amount of work and effort that's going into creating a healthier existence for all. We really do appreciate your valuable insights on the current cell therapy market landscape. I think, cell therapy represents remarkable potential of science and innovation to transform the future of medicine. As we explored these trends and really define this dynamic field, it's clear that cell therapy is not just a scientific endeavor, but a beacon of hope for countless patients and a source of immense excitement for all of us in this room, for researchers, clinicians, and investors. Before we close out, I believe we might have a few minutes to take questions. I know we're about up with time, but maybe just a couple questions from the audience for Haro. Anyone? Yeah?
How do you see CDMOs to reduce the dominance that we're talking about? How do you see CDMOs becoming invested in supporting these small-scale startups?
I think, I was just talking during the lunchtime with Jennifer. I said, companies, they don't have any money to come and use CDMOs. Is there any way that we can be creative? And there are a lot of CDMOs, they do a lot of things, like they take equity from the company and they say, I can do this for you, but when you get to the certain point, milestone, you pay me later, stuff like that. Of course, I think eventually companies are going to do something like that. As far as BioCentriq is concerned, we're always open with variety of creative way of accommodating companies because, as I said, I'm an entrepreneur first and then CEO second.
And my second question was on allogeneic cell therapies, which you said are definitely going to be the future. How do you think, how do you envision cell product banking to be a part of a CDMO services?
Another good question. Cell banking is always part of it, although if I put my CEO hat, it's not a revenue-generating business. It's very small, and it's very time-consuming and taking a lot of capacity, if you want to focus on that. So we balance it. We at BioCentriq, we do clinical production, we do process development, we do MSAT work, we also do cell banking too. So absolutely, cell banking is part of the every cell therapy project that we work on. So that's always comes with it. But separately also we do projects, cell banking projects separately, independently.
I just wanted to jump in on the first part of your question, or the first question of your dual question, which was regards to how do CDMOs like BioCentriq support early stage companies. One of the things that I really liked about BioCentriq business model is being able to meet companies where they are. So knowing that folks have limited cash and they wanted to get into IND as quickly as possible, we developed platforms to help reduce timelines. We can get folks to IND in as short as 6 months versus the traditional 12 months. So expediting your timeline helps you preserve cash. We also have platforms such as LEAP, which you can use, pre-existing batch records and folks that have area of expertise in NK or MSC, where you really reduce the amount of training time. And also being able to provide a la carte services. So if you need analytical development services, process development services, you can start with us in those instances, and we don't require huge significant upfront payments and reserve capacity all the way through an engineering batch, for example. We, of course, have capacity available today where you can access our immediate tech transfer and right into GMP manufacturing. But smaller boutique CDMOs like us compared to larger global CDMOs do offer these flexible ways of engaging with the startup companies who need those flexible business models. So those are just a few examples to build on Haro's answer to your first question. All right, well, thank you very much for the opportunity. If you have any additional questions, we can meet you on a break.
Thank you.
Thank you, Haro.